So, Hare Krishna, welcome all the devotees to our Bhakti Sastri Nectar of Devotion. So, today we try to discuss chapter 14 and 15. Yeah. So, we will start our class this evening by reciting the Mangalacharan prayers. Hare Krishna. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Shahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpati Gopesa Gopika Kantha Radha Kantha Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangam kayate girim Yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurun Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hare Krishna Gauranga. So yeah, welcome everybody. Nice to see Viswambar Kripa Prabhu. Hare Krishna. And all other devotees, although they are closing their video. It's okay. So in the previous class, we finally cover up the all 64 angas of bhakti described by Srila Rupa Goswami. And then in the chapter 13, especially, we are discussing about the 5 most potent angas of bhakti, which are actually listed toward the end of the 64 out of those 64 angas. So just to review a little bit. So the first 10 angas of bhakti is known as the pravriti, or what we should do, okay, what we're supposed to follow. And then the second 10 out of the 64 angas, they are called nivritis, or in English we call it the don'ts, what we should avoid, what we should not do. So Rupa Goswami explained that out of these 64, the first 20, they are actually should be followed by the sadhakas, should be followed by the sadhakas. And out of the first 10, the first 3 items mentioned are most important. So are most important. But then out of the 64 angas of bhakti, the last 5 angas are most potent. So most potent. So even if one is attached with one of these 5, namely the sadhu sangha, bhagavad shravana, and nam kirtan, mathura vasa, and srimurtira shraddhaya seva. Even if one is attached only with one out of these 5, still he will be he can attain the desired success in his life, which is Krishna Prema. Yeah. So all right, on that base, chapter 14, we continue our discussion. Chapter 14, devotional qualification. So of course, in the beginning of our class on the nectar of devotion, so we have touched this point. So the qualification mentioned and explained actually by Sri Rupa Goswami and further elaborated by Srila Prabhupada, that the only qualification to perform devotional service is just to have a little attraction, okay, a little attraction toward devotional service. And that attraction, Srila Prabhupada mentioned there, of course, we get that attraction by the contact, when we have some contact with the devotees of the Lord. Then after we associate a little bit with devotees of the Lord, then the attraction becomes stronger and it becomes faith. So faith, so Shraddha and Sadhusanga both are actually uh, the fundamental items or activities in performance of devotional service. So we'll discuss a bit more elaborate on devotional qualification in this chapter, chapter 14. So Srila Prabhupada mentioned, some scholars recommend that knowledge and renunciation are important factors for elevating oneself to devotional service. But actually that is not a fact. Actually the cultivation of knowledge or renunciation, which are favorable for achieving a footing in Krishna consciousness, may be accepted in the beginning, but ultimately they may also come to be rejected. For devotional service is dependent on nothing other than the sentiment or desire for such service. It requires nothing more than sincerity. It is very interesting here that it is knowledge is very important in while we are cultivating devotional service. So knowledge is very important because first of all, before we are able to perform devotional service, we have to be in the we have to be liberated from ignorance, avidya. Yeah, that we discussed like in the very beginning of our classes on nectar of devotion. So avidya, first thing we have to be freed from avidya. Therefore, cultivation of knowledge is required. Then, as we know the truth about what is going on in this material world, then naturally we'll develop detachment because we know the aim of life is to be, to serve Krishna and to be free from the entanglement of this material world. So that's called detachment. But of course, when we perform devotional service, actually knowledge and detachment simultaneously will be, automatically we will derive these two things, knowledge and renunciation, as it is confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayatyasu Vairagyam Gyanam Cha Yadahaitikam. So when we engage in the service of Lord Vasudeva, so Gyan and Vairagya will automatically follow. But then it is interesting, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that even then, as we are advancing, in our Krishna consciousness practice and develop some kind of particular rasa or mellow toward Krishna, so this knowledge also will be given up. For example, like in the high level of rasa, like let's say Sakya ras, Vatsalya ras, and Madhurya ras. So, for example, like Mother Jashoda, so she is in Sakya ras. So she completely tried to control Krishna as her own child, tried to take care of Krishna as her own child. So all actually the residents of Vrindavan, they don't really know that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. They don't know that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. What they know, only Krishna is our dearest friend. He is our, depend on their mood, depend on their rasa. He's our beloved. He's our like our own child, like this. So they completely don't know Krishna's opulence. Krishna's opulence is actually sometimes for the devotees in such a high level of rasa, knowledge about Krishna's opulence may block their rasa, may block their rasa. Therefore, the residents of Vrindavan completely, uh, I don't say that they are completely ignorant of Krishna's opulence, but it is Krishna's divine arrangement by which actually Krishna doesn't want them to know his opulence. Otherwise, if they aware that Krishna is God, so they will check their sentiments. Then the reciprocation will not as deep as what is going on between the residents of Vrindavan and Krishna. So only within Vrindavan, nobody knows that Krishna is God, yet they love Krishna. So that's the beauty of Vrindavan residents. Yeah. Because when devotees still aware and know Krishna's greatness, opulence, so the relationship, for example, like those who are in Sakya, like Arjuna, let's take the example like Arjuna. So Arjuna was Krishna's friend, but as soon as Lord Krishna display his Vishwarup, immediately this awe and reverence taking place. So Arjuna start to worship Krishna, start to glorify Krishna and keeping some distance like this. So that's happened outside Vrindavan. But within Vrindavan, even after Krishna shows his opulence, he kills demon, he lifts the mountain, you know. But the residents of Vrindavan completely neglecting that opulence. So that's the speciality of Vrindavan. Even after Krishna himself showing his opulence in Vrindavan, nobody recognized that he's God. But outside Vrindavan, so as soon as Krishna display his opulence, so people will, the devotees will recognize that, yes, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then the devotees like Arjuna, who has the rasa as intimate friend, so his position may come down into Dasya, yeah, from Sakya to Dasya, full of awe and reverence. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada mentioned here that ultimately, this, where is that? Yeah, ultimately, they may also come to be rejected. For devotional service is dependent on nothing other than sentiment or desire for service. Yeah. Actually, Krishna consciousness, devotional service itself is the only way of advancing in devotional life. Devotional service is absolute. It is both the cause and the effect. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause and the effect of all that be. And to approach Him, the the process of devotional service, which is also absolute, has to be adopted. So, Nayam Atma Pravachanena Labhyona Medhayana Bhauna Shrutina. It's described in the Manduka Upanishad that to understand Krishna, Bahuna Srutena, we cannot understand Krishna simply by having a lot of so-called knowledge, studying the Vedas. No, because understanding Krishna, we can understand Krishna only through devotional service. And how to advance in devotional service is by practicing devotional service. It's not by cultivation of knowledge. Of course, we are studying the scriptures. This is part of our sadhana because we are studying the scriptures in relationship to Krishna. But there are so many jnanis, scholars like that. They're studying the Vedas, they are studying the Vedas, but they don't utilize that knowledge, whatever they get from the scripture, to connect themselves in devotional service to Krishna. So bhakti, how to advance in bhakti is by performing bhakti itself. That's why it's mentioned here, bhakti is both the cause and the effect. Both the cause and the effect. So we continue. Actually, A person who is developing Krishna consciousness and still has some attachment to material enjoyment will soon be freed from such a tendency by regularly discharging devotional service under the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master. So in the beginning, we are talking about renunciation. Renunciation, uh, as Srila Prabhupada used the word, is just a footing. Footing means just a stepping stone. It helps, but actually it goes hand in hand, devotional service and renunciation. We cannot completely renounce from this material world. We cannot completely renounce from this material world if we don't practice devotional service. Yeah, if we don't practice devotional service. Where was that? Yeah, regarding the material attachment to the material enjoyment. So we have been discussing this point a lot, and somehow this point again brought up in this chapter. So sometimes we may feel that as soon as we join Krishna consciousness movement, we have to be completely detached immediately, detaching ourselves from. We have to be free immediately from material enjoyment. Well, not all of us can be situated immediately on that level, so it's okay. Uh, we practice devotional service. We still have some desire to enjoy sense gratification, but it should be somehow rather connected with Krishna, somehow rather connected with Krishna. And of course, in the beginning, we may perform karma mishra bhakti, yeah, karma mishra bhakti, because we are performing devotional service. We still have this desire to enjoy, but still that's fine. As we are performing the karma mishra bhakti, we'll come to the level of niskama karma. What is that? Niskama Niskama karma, yeah, Niskama karma yoga or Buddhi yoga or devotional service, pure devotional service. Niskama karma, Niskama karma yoga. That means we are performing activities in Krishna consciousness without expecting the result. So this is pure devotional service. Yeah, chapter 5, Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And then Rupa Goswami then recommends that one should not be attached to material sense enjoyment. Yeah, here it is mentioned that it's okay. We still have some desire, attachment to material enjoyment. Of course, in the next, as we are advancing in devotional service, we have to renounce this material enjoyment. So Rupa Goswami then recommends that one should not be attached to material sense enjoyment, but should accept everything enjoyable which is in relationship to Krishna. For example, eating is necessary, and one wants some palatable dishes to satisfy his sense of taste. So in that case, for the satisfaction of Krishna, rather than for the satisfaction of tongue, some palatable dishes may be prepared and offered to Krishna. Then it is renunciation. Now, interesting here, Srila Prabhupada mentioned like this. So although we still have some desire to enjoy the senses, but when it is connected with Krishna, so that's also in one sense called renunciation, because we are not at all enjoying the senses, but we have this this mentality. We understand the principles that first of all I have to offer it to Krishna, then I will take it as prasada. So we are talking in the matter of food, for example. Here Prabhupada gave the example of food. So I want to gratify my tongue, but I don't want to eat bhoga. So therefore, okay, I cook whatever I like. Yat karosi yat asnasi yat juhosi dadasi. So I cook whatever I like, then I will offer it to Krishna. I offer it to Krishna, and after that I accept it as prasadam. So this is also called renunciation. This is also called renunciation. Let the palatable dishes be prepared, but unless they are offered to Krishna, one should not accept them for eating. This vow of rejecting anything which is not offered to Krishna is actually renunciation. And by such renunciation, one is able to satisfy the demands of the senses. So, uh, in one place, this kind of practice in one place, uh, our senses get purified because the food that we offer to Krishna is purifying, and at the same time we can gratify our senses in Krishna consciousness. So we have the right to be happy because everybody wants to be happy. Everybody wants to be happy. So we have the right to be happy. It is not that we are joining Krishna consciousness and we are completely under restriction and we become, I would say, we become depressed like this. No, we can enjoy. We can enjoy our senses. We can gratify our senses, but it should be within dharma, within Krishna consciousness. Like we love to hear music, so hear nice kirtan. We love to sing, so sing Vaishnava bhajan or sing Harinam. We like to dance. Yeah, don't go to the nightclub. We dance with the devotees in the temple. We love to see something beautiful, see the deity form of the Lord. So like this. Yeah. So here, the point here is that we utilize everything in Krishna's service. We connect everything in Krishna's service. Anasakta savi sayan yatar hamu payunjatha nirbanda Krishna sambande yuktam vairagyam uchat. When one is not attached to anything, but at the same time accepts anything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness. Srila Prabhupada gave the example. For instance, we are using many machines for the advancement of our present Krishna consciousness movement. Machines like type writers, dictating machine, tape recorders, microphones, and aeroplanes. Sometimes people ask us, why are you utilizing material products if you condemn the advancement of material civilization? But actually, we do not condemn. We simply ask people to do whatever they are doing in Krishna consciousness. This is the same principle on which in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna advised Arjuna to utilize his fighting abilities in devotional service. Similarly, we are utilizing these machines for Krishna's service with such sentiment for Krishna or Krishna consciousness. We can accept everything. If the typewriter can be utilized for advancing our Krishna consciousness movement, we must accept. So we are not rejecting the material world like the Mayavadis do. So we are not Mayavadis. We are the devotees. So we can see everything in connection with Krishna. Doesn't matter what it is. Somehow or other, we see everything is connected with Krishna. After all, everything is Krishna's energy. Right? Maya tatamidam sarvam jagat avyaktamurtina matstani sarva bhutani na chaham teshu avastita. Krishna explained in the ninth chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So Maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyaktamurtina. All this universe, the whole universe is my energy. So Krishna mentioned Maya. Maya means mind. So everything is Krishna's energy. Therefore, everything should be utilized in Krishna's service. Nirbandha Krishna Sambande. Nirbandha Krishna Sambande. Bandha means bondage. Nirbandha means no bondage, freedom. How to be free? Nirbandha Krishna Sambande. Utilize their things in Krishna's service. Prasangam, ajaram pasam atmana kavayo vidu sa eva sadhu sukrito moksa dwaram apavritam. Yeah, it is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam very nicely that uh, this material world for the non-devotees will bound them more tightly, but for the devotees, this material world can give liberation. Yeah, prasangam ajaram pasam atmana kavayo vidu. So kavayo means those who are intelligent. Kavayo vidu, they have knowledge. So those who are intelligent means the devotees. They can see this material world in connection with Krishna. Therefore, they utilize the material world to serve Krishna. We don't reject this material world because this is Krishna's energy. Sa eva sadhu sukrito moksha dwaram apavritam. See, moksha dwaram apavritam. When we utilize whatever we have got in Krishna's service, moksha dwaram apavritam. Just like simple example like money. You know, money can become a great obstacle and bind us more in the material world. And money also can liberate us. So the key point here is that how we are utilizing that money. Just like Srila Prabhupada mentioned that we are not condemning this all material, what do you call this, gadget, yeah, like typewriter, dictating machines, aeroplanes. We are not rejecting it, but we are utilizing it in Krishna service, especially this body, The Mayavadi philosophy mentioned that this body is, illusion. Body is illusion, everything, Jagan Mithya, illusion. But we don't say like that. But rather we will utilize this body, how to be free from entering another mother's womb is by utilizing this body, human form of life, to serve Krishna and be free from material entanglement. Yeah. So that's the art. Krishna consciousness is about art, how to connect everything in Krishna service. Therefore, this movement is called Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness. When we don't utilize something, when we see something separate from Krishna, so that means we are in Maya. But when we see everything in relationship with Krishna, that means Krishna consciousness. See, our consciousness is in Krishna. Okay. Sri Rupa Goswami affirms herein that there are 9 different kinds of devotional service, which are listed as Prahlad Maharaj mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter Canto 7. Hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshipping the deity in the temple, praying, carrying out orders, serving Krishna as friend, and sacrificing everything for him. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dashyam, Shakyam, Atmanivedanam, Iti Pumsarpita, Vishnu, Bhakti Chanavalakshana, Kreta, Bhagavatyada, Tanmanye Ditam Uttamam. So Prahlad Maharaj said, Tanmanye Ditam Uttamam. Even if one out of these 9 processes of devotional service, even if one is performing only one out of the 9 processes, he is considered to be Tanmanye Ditam Uttamam. He is completely Uttamam means free from ignorance. Yeah, Uttamam. Tama means darkness, ignorance. Ut means upper. Yeah, so he is beyond ignorance. Tanmanye Ditam Uttamam. Then each and every one of these processes is so powerful that if anyone follows even one single one of them, he can achieve the desired perfection without fail. For example, if one is attached simply to hearing about the Lord and another is attached to chanting the glories of the name, both will achieve their desired goal in devotional service. So here in this chapter, we'll find that each of this process has its own, how I say this, personality who perform it, only that one, and he achieved the desired success in life. Yeah, here it is. There are concrete examples of how a devotee discharge one of these services and achieve perfection. So for those of you who have read this chapter, you will know who are the devotees in each of these items, process. So first about Sravana, Parikshit Maharaj. So Parikshit Maharaj, he has 7 days. So he just sit for 7 days, 7 nights, just to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, and he attained success in his life. And then Kirtanam, who is the example given here in this chapter for Kirtana. For Kirtana.
Sukadeva Goswami.
Yeah, Sukadev Goswami. Thank you very much, Parashuram Prabhu. And then next one. Okay, let's call upon the devotees here. Smaranam. Who is the example even in this chapter about Smaranam?
Prahlad Maharaj.
Yeah, Prahlad Maharaj. And then Padasevana.
Mother Lakshmi.
Yeah, Mother Lakshmi. Serving the lotus feet of the Lord, giving massage. And then, oh, I double click. Anyway, Archanam, King Prithu. And then Vandanam, Akrura. So Vandanam means offering obeisances. When Akrura just arrived in Vrindavan, when he saw the footprint of Lord Krishna, he offered his obeisances. Vandana means also offering prayers. Yeah. And then Dashyam, Hanumanji, and Sakyam, Arjuna, and Atmanivedanam, Bali Maharaj. So all these personalities, they attach with one particular of these 9 processes, and they attain success in their life. Of course, in the next paragraph, Srila Prabhupada explained that, yeah, there are also examples of devotees who discharge all of the different items together. In the 9th canto, 4th chapter, verse 18, 19, and 20 of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a statement about Maharaj Ambarish, who followed every one of the devotional processes. Yeah. Savai Mana Krishna Padara Vindaya Vacham Sivai Kunta Gunanu Varnani Karao Harir Mandira Marjanadi Srutim Chakara Chitasat Katulai, and so on. It's nice slokas. There are 3 verses. It's nice to memorize these 3 verses. That how Ambarish Maharaj is utilizing all his senses in the service of Lord. Kamam chadashe natu kama kamyaya yato tamasloka janasraya rati. His only rati, his only attraction is to serve Krishna. Kamam chadashe. So kamam chadashe. He just wants to serve Krishna. His kama. Kama means lust. Kama means also desire. So his desire is just to serve Krishna. Kamam chadashe natu kama kamyaya. There is no other desire except serving Lord. Uttama sloka. Janasraya ratihi. So his rati, his attraction, is just toward Krishna. Although he's a king is supposed to be very busy in managing his kingdom, citizens, has to protect them, and so many things. But doesn't matter. Devotional service, as it is mentioned in the beginning, that it is independent from anything else. One can be pure devotee, although he's floating on money, or one can be a pure devotee, although he is poverty stricken. like Sudama Vipra. One can be pure devotee, although he is small child, like Prahlad and Dhruva. One can be pure devotee, although she is a woman, like Kunti Maharani, Devahuti, and many other personalities, Tulasi Maharani, Lakshmi Devi, all this. And yeah, devotional service, bhakti is independent. Bhakti is just about your desire to serve the Lord. That's it. So that's the qualification that we are talking here. The qualification in devotional service is just to have desire to serve the Lord. Doesn't matter despite of any circumstances. So desire, having desire to serve the Lord. The idea is that we should follow in the footsteps of great devotees. Yeah, Mahajano Yena Gata Sapanta. If we are unable to execute all the different items of devotional service, we must try to execute at least one of them, as exemplified by the previous acharyas. If we are engaged in the execution of all the items of devotional service, as was Maharaj Ambarish, then the perfection of devotional service is guaranteed from each one of these items. With the first complete engagement, one becomes automatically detached from material contamination, and liberation becomes the maid servant of the devotee. So when we engage in devotional service, naturally, liberation is not so important, becoming not so important. Of course, this is applicable for those who are uh, attaining pure devotional service. So for them, liberation is not at all important. Doesn't matter wherever they are. Narayana para sarve na kutasyana bivyati swarga pavarga nara keshu apitulyatra darsina. Doesn't matter in the hell, in heaven, or in Vaikunta. Main thing is that to serve the Lord. That's the attitude of the pure devotees. So I think that was Bilwa Mangal Thakur mentioned that when a devotee already having this sentiment, cultivation of devotional service to Lord Krishna. So even when the personification of liberation comes and bow down at his lotus feet, so the devotee will kick him away. So like that. For them, it is not so interesting. Yeah, not so interesting. Liberation. Because after all, the goal of life is to serve Krishna. And indeed, when we serve Krishna, actually, we are already liberated because the very meaning of liberation is actually when we are free from ignorance. Because the cause of our bondage in this material world is ignorance. Ignorance. We don't know what is what. Then just like when we walk in a dark place, yeah, imagine if we walk in a dark place and by chance we step on a rope, so we think that it's a snake, so we just jump and we freak out, we jump, so because we don't know, right? So similarly, ignorance, darkness. So due to ignorance, we may feel that material advancement is the all in all in my life, especially those who are situated in the middle class in the society. So they always wants to show that okay, their life is success. They have good education. They have good job. They want some recognition. So for them, this is the success in life. For materialistic people, success means when you have a nice job, when you have nice education, and people respect you in the society. People will glorify how great you are. This is success for them. But after all, it's just like when you touch a rope in a dark place. It just sometimes you think it's snake, but it is just a rope. So similarly, we may think that all this, when I have nice house, big house, this is success. But real success when we serve Krishna, mm, when we serve Krishna, that's the real success. Serve the devotees, serve Krishna. So just to conclude this chapter, the qualification in performing devotional service is just to have desire to serve the Lord, because devotional service is not depending on anything other than our attitude to serve the Lord. You can engage in Krishna service when you have desire and eagerness to serve the Lord. Dridavrata. Dridavrata. Dridavrata means the great endeavor in your heart to perform devotional service. So if you don't have Dridavrata, desire to serve the Lord with great endeavor, doesn't matter even if you are Chaturvedi, Trivedi, this title in India is so common. Somebody will have their name like Chaturvedi, blah, 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 Chaturvedi. That means they're coming from the Brahmana lineage who has studied the Chaturvedi. Yeah, nowadays we still find this Chaturvedi, Trivedi, but on the name only. Because to study one Veda, it needs like many years, at least 12 years to study the four Vedas. I was asking in Gurukul, somebody, one of the teachers here in Mayapur Gurukul, he mentioned that 12 years to complete to study the Chaturveda, 12 years. But nowadays people not so interested in studying Vedas. So yeah, they may have this title Chaturvedi, Trivedi, and that's not the qualification. That's not the qualification of performing devotional service to have knowledge, because as it is mentioned by Srila Prabhupada in the beginning, that after all, this will be rejected like knowledge and renunciation. Because when we already fall in love with somebody, for example, when we fall in love with somebody, young boy or young boy get attracted to a young girl, when this boy got very much attracted to the girl, or the opposite, girls attracted to the boys, doesn't matter, even if she has bad character, even if people telling him that no, this girl is not good, she's doing like this, because of his love toward her, it doesn't matter. I don't need to know all this stuff. The only thing I know, I just fall in love, that's it, and I want to make her happy. Mm. So similarly, the residents of Vrindavan also like that, because they already obtained the highest sentiment in devotional mellow toward Lord Krishna. Even after Lord Krishna shows his opulence in Vrindavan, so they completely ignored it. Uh, when Lord Krishna killed Putana, when he was few days, what the residents of Vrindavan thought, oh, thanks, Lord Narayan. Lord Narayan is protecting our son. Like that. It is Lord Narayan who protect Krishna. And then they bathe Krishna with the Panchagavya like this in order to protect Krishna. Like in India here, they have the tradition to walk under the cow and take the cow's tail and yeah, on the head. So they did also to Lord Krishna, in order to protect Lord Krishna, because this is the higher level of bhakti, or higher level of melo. So the one level is that when we are uh, seeing Krishna as our protector, and the another level is that when we see Krishna completely depending on us. This is nicely explained in the Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat by Vrindavan Das Thakur, that these two levels of sentiments. The lower level is that when we completely dependent on Krishna, that we are keep bothering Krishna, like how the demigods pray, oh, you are the supreme personality of Godhead, please protect us from this demon, that demon. They are completely depending on Krishna. Doesn't mean that they don't have love. They have love for Krishna. They have bhakti, But higher level of mellow is that when we think that Krishna is completely dependent on me. Without me, Krishna cannot live. Sometimes some devotees having this sentiment toward their deities. Oh, my deity is hungry. My deity is hungry. I should cook for the deities like this. Oh, sometimes they are invited for some feast, and sometimes they may reject with the answer that no, I have deities at home. I have to cook for them. Otherwise, they will feel hungry. Then at night, how they will sleep if their stomach hungry? So this is also natural as we are advancing in devotional service. Yeah. All right, so that's about chapter 14. Whether any question or comments or whatever, criticism, curse, blessing, Hare Krishna, before we continue to the next chapter, chapter 15. Okay, your silent means no comment, no questions. So we continue to the
Prabhuji,
next. Okay. Who is here? Parasuram Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, it is mentioned Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga.
Mm.
So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching is defined as Vairagya Vidya. So how can we say that actually knowledge and renunciation is not required?
Well, if we see in this slide, I'll show you again. Yeah, it is mentioned here. Okay, some scholars recommend that knowledge and renunciation are important factors for elevating oneself to devotional service. It is important and it is very much required, knowledge and renunciation. But actually, that is not a fact. Srila Prabhupada continue. Actually, the cultivation of knowledge or renunciation, which are favorable for achieving a footing, you see, a footing in Krishna consciousness may be accepted in the beginning. So in the beginning, we need knowledge. We need to be cultivating the sense of renunciation. But ultimately, they may also come to be rejected. So it doesn't mean that knowledge and renunciation not required in devotional practice. They are indeed very much required in the beginning. In the beginning, because we have to know the tattva, Krishna tattva. Therefore, like we study the Srimad Bhagavatam systematically. We don't jump directly to the 10th canto. Otherwise, we don't know the tattva, right? Especially when we study the creation, like so we know how great Krishna is. After all, this material universe is, created by his plenary portion of his plenary portion, the portion of his plenary portion. Yeah. Then we know Krishna's position. And when we see Krishna's pastimes, lifting Govardhan hill, killing big demons, or stealing the gopi's dress, so we feel that's fine. After all, he's God, he can do whatever he wants. So regarding knowledge and renunciation, it is very much required, but in the beginning. And as we advancing in our mellow rasa, then sometimes it is not very much required because this will become distraction toward our feeling to Krishna. For example, like Arjuna and Krishna, they were friends. But as soon as Krishna shows him his opulence, then he got this knowledge, by witnessing this, he got the gyan, and then his position from Sakya goes down to Dasya, becoming full of awe and reverence like this. So therefore it is mentioned that eventually this knowledge also will be maybe will come to be rejected, because that will distract the devotees rasa toward Krishna. Therefore, I think in the past times of when Krishna eats dirt, so when Mother Yasoda saw the whole universe is in Krishna's mouth, So Mother Yashoda was struck with wonder, and she about to, realizing that, oh, my child is not ordinary. He might be the incarnation of Lord Narayan. Immediately Krishna fell within his heart. I think this was the commentary given by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, that Krishna felt afraid. Krishna worried now. Mother Yashoda started realizing something about my opulence. Immediately Krishna just clicked using his yoga maya, and Mother Yashoda forget everything, and she became unconscious like this. So in the beginning, for the sadhakas, this is very much required, knowledge and renunciation, very much required, because we have to know the tattva first. But when we already surpass all this tattva, when we already situated in some particular higher rasa, like Sakya, Vatsalya, and also Madhurya, this knowledge about Krishna's opulence, Vibhuti, is not at all required, because it's simply becoming a stumbling block in order to reciprocate with Krishna. So don't misunderstood with this statement, that yes, it is required, very much required, but for the beginner. But when we advance the top levels, so we don't need it. We just use our sentiments and desire to serve Krishna, our sentiments, and that's not material blind sentiments, but it is natural. It is described that the residents of Vrindavan, they already perform many severe austerities and study all the Vedas in their previous lives. Therefore, now they have this privilege, the right to serve Krishna in that mood, with the familiarity. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, in the sixth Goswami Ashtakam, we read, Bhutva Dina Ganesha Kau Karunaya, Popina Kantashruta. Goswamis also are showing that even in the elevated state, so much renounced one has to be. And I've heard that even austerity, like they used to do this Govardhan Parikrama, and even in the old age, they were doing this austerities, means renunciation and austerities. So is it only for knowledge, or even the renunciation has to be given up? Because the Goswamis have shown that even at the last end, they are continuing with those things.
Yeah, correct. Thank you very much for that statement. Yes, come back again to the Bhagavad Gita, Yadyada Charati Sresas. They are giving us the example. They are acharyas, they are teaching through their own examples. They are setting up an example. Because spiritual advancement and material enjoyment, they cannot go together. They go ill together. Yeah. So you have to be a renounced person. But then also, their renunciation is in connection with Krishna. In connection with Krishna. Why they are becoming so renounced? Because they are completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness. So there are so many Mayavadis also. They are also very renounced and austere. Rahuganaita tapasanayati nachedyaya nirvapana grihadva na chandasa naiva jalagni suryair. So there are so many Mayavadis, they are very austere. During Nachandasa Naiva Jalagni Surya. During hot summer, they sit under the sun and they surround themselves with fire. And then during winter, they submerge themselves in the cold water up to the neck. But this kind of austerity, not in connection with Krishna. But we see the life of the Goswamis, like, for example, it was Jiva Goswami, I think, who always performed the Govardhan Parikram. So their austerity always in connection with Krishna, and their renunciation also in connection with Krishna. But sometimes also Krishna wants to show to his devotees that actually this renunciation is not so important. For example, like Sudama Vipra, because Sudama Vipra was too attached of being renounced, and finally he neglected his family members, wife and children. Now Krishna wants to show him that, you know, this renunciation sometimes not required. You can become a pure devotee, at the same time you also live luxuriously, because a pure devotee can utilize uh, wealth for serving Krishna. Yeah. But yeah, renunciation, real renunciation means, as Srila Prabhupada gave the example, that when we utilize all these aeroplanes, typewriters, dictating machine to serve Krishna, this is real renunciation. It's not simply a soul that you just live with a coffin and you live under the tree. Of course, that's an extreme level, and yeah, the Goswamis, we cannot imitate the lives of the Goswamis. They are completely in a different level. But come back again regarding renunciation. Renunciation means Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhi. When we utilize, this is called Yukta Vairagyam, Yukta Vairagyam Uchyate. When we utilize everything in Krishna service, that's real renunciation. It's not that when you walk on the street just wearing kopin, that is renunciation. Yeah, but the Goswamis, they are showing, setting up a very high standard. They are showing example, and their renunciation is completely genuine, completely genuine. Srila Prabhupada mentioned that, like in Vrindavan, there are so many so-called Babajis. They are completely seems to be renouncing the world, but in their behind the scene, they have 5, 6 girls with them. So that's my response. Parasuram Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Okay, we shall continue, I think, to the next chapter. So after describing about the qualification in devotional service, so the next chapter entitled Spontaneous Devotional Service. So this chapter describes Ragatmika Bhakti, the spontaneous devotional service of the eternal residents of Vrindavan. So in the chapter 3 of Nectar of Devotion, we talk about sadhana bhakti. So there are 2 types of sadhana bhakti. One is Vaidhi sadhana bhakti and one is Raganuga bhakti. So this chapter, chapter 15, is not describing about Raganuga bhakti, but it is describing about Ragatmika bhakti. And in the next chapter, chapter 16, we'll be describing about Raganuga bhakti. Okay. So there is a difference between Ragatmika bhakti and Raganuga bhakti. So what is that? We'll see. Examples of spontaneous devotional service can be easily seen in Krishna's direct associate in Vrindavan. The spontaneous dealings of the residents of Vrindavan in relationship with Krishna are called Ragatmika. These beings don't have to learn anything about devotional service. They are already perfect in all regulative principles and have achieved the spontaneous loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So raga means attachment. Raga means attachment, or can be translated as spontaneous. Both Ragatmika and Raganuga, we find this word raga. Raga means attachment. Raga means spontaneous. So Ragatmika, the idea of Ragatmika is that when you get this attachment or you spontaneously serving Krishna, doesn't matter in whatever mood, whatever rasa, and for you that's natural without practicing. without any practice, you already have this privilege that you spontaneously serving Krishna, like the residents of Vrindavan. This is Ragatmika. And then Raganuga, of course, in the next class we'll discuss more about Raganuga. But just to make a clear distinction, clear difference, that Raganuga, when you have this spontaneous attitude in serving Krishna, but before that you have to do some kind of practice in your life. So that's the difference. This is it. For example, the cowherd boys who are playing with Krishna do not have to learn by austerities or penances or yogic practice how to play with him. They have passed all tests of regulative principles in their previous lives, and as a result, they are now elevated to the position of direct association with Krishna as his dear friends. Their spontaneous attitude is called Ragatmika. So this Ragatmika is found only in Vrindavan, the residents of Vrindavan, like the Gopas, Gopis, elderly Gopas, Krishna's friends. So this is Ragatmika. They don't have to practice in their life to be Krishna's friend, to love Krishna. For them, it's all natural. So that's the idea of Ragatmika. Sri Rupa Goswami has defined Ragatmika as spontaneous attraction. Spontaneous attraction for something while completely absorbed in thought in it, with an intense desire of love. Devotional service executed with such feelings of spontaneous love is called Ragatmika. Devotional service under the heading of Ragatmika can be further divided into two categories. One category is called sensual attraction and the other is called relationship. So the sensual attraction, the example given just like the gopis in Vrindavan. And regarding relationship, we'll discuss tomorrow in the next chapter. What is it? Hare Krishna Prabhu, example of spontaneous. What is that? Question here. Example of spontaneous bhakti. Example of spontaneous bhakti. When you serve Krishna without any practice, without any training, spontaneous. You just do it spontaneously. Like the residents of Vrindavan, spontaneously means it's natural. It's natural. Spontaneous bhakti also can be like you can get up early in the morning without alarm. But this is in the category of Raganuga, because in the beginning you are practicing getting up early in the morning using alarm. But as time passes, then you become getting up early in the morning becomes natural for you, and you don't need the help of alarms to wake you up. This is called spontaneous. Spontaneous. You wake up early in the morning because you want to go for Mangala Arati. So that's the example of spontaneous devotional service. Or when you just see something, some fruit, for example, okay, you just take it and immediately offer to Krishna, because you simply think about Krishna. Oh, this fruit is so nice. Okay, let me take it for Krishna. That is called spontaneous. And then, what is that? Example of personalities, Prabhujis? Yeah, like the resident of Vrindavan. That's the example. They are spontaneously, without any training. This is in the level of Ragatmika, in the category of Ragatmika. Without any training in these lifetimes. For them to love Krishna is natural. Spontaneous means also natural. It's natural. You don't have to force yourself. This is spontaneous. Like, for example, when you walk and then you stumble, and then you're about to fall, immediately you chant Krishna's name. This is also called spontaneous. This is called spontaneous. Yeah, like Mirabai also can be, and the gopis in Vrindavan. Of course, there are two types of spontaneous. One is Ragatmika and one is Raganuga. Yeah, about Raganuga tomorrow we'll discuss. But the idea is that Raganuga, you need training first. You need to force yourself first before you achieve this level of Raganuga, being Raganuga. Like the beginning, you may like forcing yourself to chant on beats. But as time passes, it becomes natural for you. Just pick up your beats and you get the taste to chant. You are happy to chant. This is called spontaneous. Like kirtan also. Kirtan. Uh, Prabhupada explained that actually, even if you don't feel that you want to dance on kirtan, but you just start dancing. As time passes, next time you hear kirtan, immediately you will dance. Like I have witnessed here on Harinam, yeah, in the Nagas and Kirtan. So for the Bengalis, actually to dance on Kirtan is spontaneous. For them, it's spontaneous. As soon as they hear Kartal Mridanga music, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, immediately they will raise their hands and doing the Swami step. This is spontaneous. But for us from the West or from any other countries, any other part of India, so for us to dance in kirtan is like little bit, you feel hesitate in the beginning, like I don't think so. I want to dance. Let me just clap my hand and that's it. But for the Bengalis, as soon as they meet kirtan, immediately they raise their hands and dance. This is called spontaneous. Okay. By the way, who is this account 214B126E? And it's good because you don't show your video. At least you can put your name correctly. Hare Krishna. But thank you for asking the question. So there are two categories of Ragat Mika. One is sensual attraction. One is called relationship. So relationship we'll discuss in the next class. The attraction of the gopis for Krishna and affection of the members of the Yadu dynasty are both accepted as spontaneous or Ragatmika. The attraction of Kamsa to Krishna in fear and attraction of Sisupal in envy are not accepted as devotional service. However, because their attitude are not favorable, devotional service should be executed only in a favorable frame of mind. Yeah. Therefore, Rupa Goswami also explained, Anukul yena Krishna anushilanam bhaktir uttam. So it should be anukul. Anukul. There is anukul and there is pratikul. Anukul means favorable, pratikul means not favorable. So thinking of Krishna like how the gopis think and how the members of the Yadu dynasty think about Krishna. So that is anukul. Therefore, it is bhaktir uttamam. That is considered as devotional service. But the way how Kamsa thinks, how Sisupala thinks about Krishna, it is not considered as devotional service. Although, even because Krishna, such a great person, magnanimous person, even his enemy also, he awards liberation. He award liberation. Tasmat vairanu bandena nirvairina bhayena va snehat kamena va yunjan katanchin niksate prita. So katanchin na iksate prita. Na iksate means not seeing. What Krishna doesn't see, the fault of the person who think about him. The main thing is that that guy, that person think about me. Okay, that's it. Business is done. Yeah, tasmat vaira anubandena. Vaira means animical. Like many other demons, they have this animical attitude toward Krishna. Tasmat vaira anubandena. Near vairena means not animical, like the devotees, like the Pandavas. Nirvairina bhayena, bhayenava, bhaya, out of fear, comes up. 24 hours thinking about Krishna. Can you imagine who can think Who can be even Narad Muni mentioned that what kind of devotee I am? I'm so fallen. Even Kamsa is greater. He is a great thinker. He thinks about Krishna 24 hours. When he eats, when he sleeps, all the time. Oh, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. He always planned how I kill Krishna. But this cannot be counted as devotional service because this attitude is pratikul, not favorable. Bhayanava, sneha, attachment, like the attachment of the Pandavas, it is described as Mother Kunti attachment. Sneha, kamena, lust, like the gopis, always thinking about Krishna. How can I be in his company? Snehat kamena vayunjan, katanchin na iksate prita. So all of them achieve uh, same result. Same in the sense of they are all get liberation, but at the same time, actually not the same. Because for Krishna's enemy, mostly Krishna give impersonal liberation. Yeah, Krishna gives impersonal liberation, except Putana. She got the position of Matri. Aho bakiyam stanakala kutam jigam sayapaya apya shadvi Libegatim datri uchitam tatonyam kamva dayalum saranam rajim. So Datri means nurse. So one of the seven mothers is a nurse. Yeah. Atma mata guru patni brahmini rajapatnika denur datri atra prithvi sataita mataran smrita. So Datri means nurse. So Putana got the position of becoming nurse in Goloka Vrindavan. So becoming a mother. Kamwa dayalum saranam rajema. Who will not surrender to that great personality who's full of mercy? Kamwa dayalum saranam rajema. Only fools will not surrender to Krishna. Even Krishna is so merciful. Even he gives position of mother to this demon, Baki, the sister of Bakasur. Bakiyam stana kala kutam. She came with kala kutam, means poison, to kill Krishna. Stana kala kutam jigam sayapaya apya ashadvi. She is ashadvi, the opposite of sadhu. Asadhu. So yeah, although it is described, they get same result, but actually not completely the same. Same in the sense of they all get liberated. But even then also there is the hierarchy of liberation. And most of the demons that Krishna killed, they get impersonal liberation. Sometimes an impersonalist may gradually elevate himself to the personal conception of the Lord. Bhagavad Gita confirmed this. After many births and death, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders to me. By such surrender, an impersonalist can be elevated to the Vaikuntha Loka, spiritual planet, where as a surrendered soul, he attains bodily features like those of Lord Sarupya. Yeah. But this is only after Bahunam Janmanam Ante. Yeah, Bahunam Janmanam, after many births. Because after all, the impersonalists, they are worshipping Krishna, but only the aspect of Brahma Jyoti of Lord Krishna. Brahma, Paramatma, Brahman, Paramatmeti, and Bhagavan. Brahma, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So there is possibility for the impersonalists to be elevated to the Vaikuntha planets, but it's after many births, thousands, Bahunam Janmanam, after thousands of births, then only they will get the chance. Because actually the impersonalists, they are actually considered to be Krishna's enemy. Therefore, Krishna puts whoever he kills, his enemy he kills, he put in Brahmajyoti, because the impersonal is considered to be Krishna's enemy, because they want to become God. That means they're competing with Krishna. They want to usurp Krishna's position, and cannot be done. In the Brahmanda Purana, it is stated, those who have achieved liberation from material contamination and those who are demons are and are killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead become absorbed in the Brahman concept of life and reside in the spiritual sky of the Brahma Jyoti. It's confirmed here. That spiritual sky is far beyond material sky, and it is confirmed also in the Bhagavad Gita that beyond this material sky, there is another eternal sky. The enemies and the impersonalists may be allowed to enter into this Brahman effulgence, but devotees of Krishna are promoted all the way to the spiritual planets. So we have this mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita that apart from this material sky, there is another eternal sky. The 15th chapter, anybody remember which verse it is? Na tad basayate suryo nasa sanko na pavakaha yad gatva na nivartante tadhama paramam mama. Krishna says that. Apart from this material world, tadhama paramam. There is not a superior world, and that is my eternal abode. And that abode of mine is not dependent on the light of the sun, moon, electricity, because Krishna is the source of its effulgence. The sun exists. Don't think that there's no sun in the spiritual world. There is sun in the spiritual world, but they are not dependent on the sun. But we here, we are very much depending on sun. Yeah. So anyway, there is a question here from Nagarjun Prabhu. How it is only possible for Putana to enter into uh, Vrindavan Dham Prabhu, unlike personal liberation. She also had bad intention. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Yes, she could enter. How she could enter? Because she disguised herself as mother. She disguised, but of course, actually, the demons they cannot access Vrindavan, but Krishna is seeing her previous her desire in her previous life. You know the pastime of Bali Maharaj when Lord Vamanadev came. So Bali Maharaj's daughter by the name Ratnamala, Bali Maharaj's daughter named Ratnamala. So when Vamanadev came to the sacrificial arena of Bali Maharaj, so Ratnamala felt the motherly affection toward Lord Vamanadev, and she said that I wish I have a child like this little Brahmana. I want to feed him my breast milk. And at that time, Ratnamala's breast milk just flow. You know? But what happened after Lord Vamanadev cheated Bali Maharaj, took all his possession, then Bali Maharaj deprived of wealth, and Ratnamala said, instead of giving my milk, I want to give poison to this boy. Then Krishna remembers this. Therefore, that's the greatness of Krishna. He sees only the good intention of Ratnamala. And Ratnamala incarnate as Putana. Therefore, Krishna allowed him to enter Vrindavan. Otherwise, this desire to feed Krishna will not be fulfilled. Eko bahunam yo vidadati kaman. Krishna fulfills all the desires of the living entity. Otherwise, if Krishna stopped Putana right there on the edge of Vrindavan, so this desire cannot be fulfilled. Because this desire is a good desire. You know, I want to feed Krishna, I want to have a child like Krishna. So Krishna is seeing only the good part of Ratnamala, of Putana, the good part. So that's how he entered Vrindavan. But when Kamsa, he wants to enter Vrindavan actually, but he cannot enter Vrindavan. So Kamsa was taking advice from Narad Muni. How can I enter Vrindavan? Narad Muni said, you cannot enter Vrindavan in this form. You cannot enter Vrindavan in this form. Okay, then what to do now? Then Narad Muni said, you go to this lake. Purnamasi is there. You take permission from her. You dip in this lake, and then you will become a little gopi. Your body will transform into a little gopi. And then Kamsa went, meet Purnamasi. That okay, I want to become little gopi. Dip in this lake. Okay, Kamsa dip in that lake, and Kamsa became a very cute little gopi. But what happened when they played together? So the little gopis, they make the cow dung cake, because Kamsa did not get the training how to make cow dung cake. So he was ridiculed. He was ridiculed by another little gopis and was chastised all the time. You such a fool gopi. From which family you come from? We never seen you. Why you are here? Blah blah blah. And Kamsa could not tolerate that. Only Kamsa left. So like that. And Vrindavan Dham is completely protected under Yoga Maya potency. So not everybody can enter Vrindavan unless we have service attitude. We may come to that very land in Uttar Pradesh, Vrindavan, but if our attitude not to serve Krishna, the real dham is covered. The real dham is covered by Krishna's energy. We just physically in Vrindavan, but if we don't have service attitude, that as good as we are not in Vrindavan. Although this land is completely, purifying, transcendental, but if we go to Vrindavan, we go to the land of Braj without service attitude, we don't really feel the Vrindavan, and we cannot appreciate Vrindavan. But when we go there, we want to serve Krishna, then we'll appreciate, wow, that's so wonderful. Hare Krishna. Okay, we have another 6 minutes. I hope that's okay. Nagarjun Prabhu. Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
Prabhu, thank you
Central
so much.
attraction. Yeah. Remember in the beginning, there are two types of ragatmika divided into two. Ragatmika divided into two. One is sexual attraction, sensual, and then the another one is relationship. So relationship we'll discuss in the next class. This extreme desire to serve the Lord is manifest in the transcendental land of Braj, and it is specifically manifest among the gopis. The gopis' love for Krishna is so elevated that for our understanding, it is sometimes explained as being lusty desire. But it is not at all lusty desire, because lust means when we want to gratify our own senses. But what are the gopis' attitude? They want to serve Krishna, they want to please Krishna. So that's called love. Although seemingly it is look like lust, but it is not at all lust. The author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kaviraj Das, has explained the distinction between lusty desire and the service attitude in this statement. Lusty desire refers to the desire to gratify one's personal senses, as I mentioned, and transcendental desire refers to the desire for serving the senses of the Lord. In the material world, there is no such thing as a lover's wanting to please the senses of his beloved. Actually, in the material world, everyone wants mainly to gratify his own personal senses, right? So Prabhupada mentioned here about a lover trying to please the senses of his beloved, but actually not at all, because everything, okay, I have watched this lecture by His Holiness Bhaktivikas Swami. entitled "Who is the most important person in this world?" You can find it in YouTube. I found it very interesting. I found it very interesting. And Maharaj described that to me, the most important person is me, and to you, the most important person is you. This is the conception of aham mameti, material concept of life. It's just centered on me and mine. For example, we may think that, okay, my son is, or my family, my father is the most important person to me, the most important person. But after all, it will go back to you again. Why you take care of them? Because you feel happy when you see they are happy. So after all, you just want to make yourself happy. Why you educate your son in such a high, uh, big university? It is not about him. It's about me, because I'm his parents. So people will, respect me. Oh, I'm such a successful parents that I educate my sons. So it's after all me. Well, you can find that lecture. I recommend to watch that. It's interesting. It is translated in, I don't know, South Indian language, maybe in Kannada, or not Telugu, but Kannada or Malayalam. What do you call this? Malayalam. Anyway, or Tamil maybe. I don't know, but sounds like South Indian translation. Okay, so that's about the difference between lust and uh, love. Yeah, love means when we want to please Krishna's senses. That's real love, and it's reflect Udra Mula Madasakam Aswatam Prahu. So this tree, banyan tree, is upside down, the root up, and the branch goes down. So love in the spiritual world, when it turns to the material world, become lust. Just like Prabhupada explained, just like milk, get in touch with sour tamarind, it becomes your. Okay. On the other hand, the lusty desire of kubja is described by learned scholars as being almost lusty desire. Kubja was a hunchback woman who also wanted Krishna with a great ecstatic love, but her desire for Krishna was almost mundane, and so her love cannot be compared to the love of the gopis. The loving affection for Krishna is called kama praya, or almost like the gopis' love for Krishna. So this kubja, so we all know the story when Krishna went to Mathura before he entered the arena, fighting arena, comes as fighting arena, wrestling arena. So he met Krishna and Balaram met Kubja. So this Kubja becomes lusty when she sees Krishna. So the lust that this Kubja has is not as the same as what the gopis feel toward Krishna. So therefore it is mentioned here as kama praya. So it's almost mundane. Of course, she wants to please Krishna, but actually she still have the sentiment to please herself more than try to please Krishna. Therefore, her love or lust is not the same as the gopis feeling toward Krishna. So that's about sensual attraction. So we end here, and yeah, it's exactly 8:15 Indian Standard Time. Whether any final comment or questions before I close?
Prabhu, I had one question about Brahman effulgence.
Yes, Parashuram Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, I was reading this Brahma Jyoti is effulgence from the body of Lord Krishna, and the whole spiritual world is effulgent with Brahma Jyoti.
Right.
So the question came in my mind like Krishna enters as Mahavishnu in this world, and then Shirodakshay Vishnu is Garbhodakshay Vishnu is there in each universe. So why is this effulgent not from Garbhodakshay Vishnu?
Why this effulgence not from Garbhodakasai
Because
Vishnu?
it is mentioned that they have the same strength. Prabhupada says one candle, another candle, another candle. So same strength is there, same property should be there. So even from Garbhodakshay Vishnu, we should have this Brahma Jyoti coming out. If he's inside this universe, then this universe should also be filled with Brahma Jyoti. But that does not happen. Because Prabhupada also writes this universe is dark. So any reason or any explanation you came across, Prabhu?
Because it is material universe covered by the layers, yeah, these 8 layers. Bhumi Rapo Naluvayo Kamano Budir Evacha Ahankara. So
but Garbhodakshay Vishnu is inside that, right?
Yeah. So actually I heard in one lecture by one devotee, but I don't know the exact reference, that the sunlight is actually coming from Krishna's bodily effulgence, like that. Any reasons? I don't know. I don't want to speculate. Of course, departure Vahida Santarama Vipeta, like the Deepa. Krishna is this, the first Deepa, first candle, which kindled the another candle. So they look same, but actually there is one candle which light the another candles, and that candle is the Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. And Garbhodakasai Vishnu, also Krishna's plenary portion, the portion of Krishna's plenary portion, Garbhodakasai Vishnu. Yes, why not? He can manifest his energy, but maybe not in full. Yeah. What is the percentage that Vishnu can exhibit his potency? Like 95, something like that, I heard. Not sure about this. So Parasuram Prabhu, your question is very technical. I will do some research on this.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, I will ask this question, because I also even never thought of this kind of question will be raised. Why? Yeah, so many things actually we can ask regarding the creation. It's very complex. Maybe we can find it in the Srimad Bhagavatam on the creation. But yeah, I don't want to speculate. I apologize for this. Better I just be honest. I don't know means I don't know. Why? Is there any reason? We'll try to
Prabhu,
find.
I had one more question. Can I ask, Prabhu?
Yeah. So for those who wants to leave, you get our permission to leave, and those who want to stay another 2-3 minutes, you also welcome. Yes, Parasuram Prabhu.
Prabhu, we hear about gopis having lusty desires, and even Kubja having lusty desires. But they are all females. Do we have any example like males having lusty desires for the Lord? Because actually males and females, Atma is the same Prakriti.
I never came across. Even I don't. I never thought that you will raise this kind of question. Well, for male devotees, maybe Sakya or Vatsalya possible. But actually, when you talk about lusty desire, maybe you are referring to the Madhurya rasa, then what about we in the male body? How we can uh, feel the Madhurya rasa? Srila Prabhupada once he mentioned that if you want to experience the gopis' love toward Krishna, go out for book distribution. Srila Prabhupada said. Why? Because the main principle is that to please Krishna. Because the main principle is that to please Krishna, not about the dance, not about the lust, not about the dance, but the main idea is to please Krishna. Tava katam ritam tapta jivanam kavibiriditam kalmasapam shravana mangalam srimada tatam bhuvi grinanti jebhurita jana, the famous Gopi Gita sloka. Yeah. So Tava Kata Amritam Tapta Jivanam. The topic of Krishna Kata is the Tapta Amritam for the Tapta Jivanam, the elixir, the nectar for the suffering living entities in the material, Tapta Jivanam. Kavibir Iditam Kalmasapaham. And those who are Kavibi, those who are intelligent, they know that Kalmasa means this material world is full of suffering. Kalmasapaham, Shravana Mangalam. And if people get the chance to hear Krishna's pastime, Krishna's glorification, it their life will become auspicious. Shravana Mangalam, Srimad Atatam Bhuvi Grinanti Jebhurita Jana. Therefore, the preachers, those who spread the Krishna consciousness movement, is actually the most munificent personalities. So this is actually the very mood of Srimati Radharani. What is the mood of Srimati Radharani? She wants to give opportunity to others to serve Krishna. Therefore, she is the mother of bhakti, Brinda, the extension. Brinda Devi is the extension of Srimati Radharani. So she is the best devotee. Anaya Radhitanunam Bhagavan Harideshwara. She is the best worshipper. Aradhita, the best worshipper of Sri Krishna. And she wants to bring all the living entities back to Krishna through service. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appear, Lord Krishna appear in the mood of Srimati Radharani. Therefore, Prabhupada mentioned that if you want to understand, you want to feel the gopis feeling, the gopis love toward Krishna, go out for book distribution. So it's not about lust, it's not about the dance in the middle of night, but it's all about pleasing Krishna. So, but come back to your question again, whether is there any male devotee experiencing lust desire toward Krishna? In that sense, that kind of lust, I never come across. I never come across. I'm sorry, maybe gay devotee, but Hare Krishna. I never come across, but yeah, never come across with that. We can have Sakya Ras and Vatsalya also. Parenthood.
Actually, I heard Prabhu that I had heard Prabhu that during this Ramayan Leela,
Ah,
the sadhus
the
they
rishis.
saw the Sita Devi, right, Prabhu, and
Yeah, yeah.
they desired that they want to serve like Sita Devi, and they all became gopis.
Correct. Yeah,
So
yeah.
actually, they got this body, and then they developed the lusty desire, or the desire to serve Krishna, as you are mentioning. So
Thank
they
you
were
for
male in the previous
reminding.
birth, but then they became female. Yeah, so I had this question from there.
Yeah. I also heard that. So thank you very much for reminding me. Yeah, the sages during Ramayan pastime. So they also want to enjoy this kind of pastime, but because they are in the male body, so they cannot. So in the next life they become gopi. Yeah. So that's nice discussion. Yeah. Few minutes ago, we have been told that Gopi's attraction was not lust. Yeah, it is not lust, it is love. It is love because the idea is that to please Krishna. Okay, thank you all very much. Nice discussion. So just to conclude the session, chapter 14 about qualification, devotional service. So the qualification is that your desire to serve Krishna. It's not depending on how much knowledge you have or how renounced you are, but your desire to serve. That's like Ambarish Maharaj in the last uh, section of that chapter 14. Prabhupada gave the example like Ambarish Maharaj is completely wealthy, but yet he's not attached. Yeah, because he's devotee of the Lord. He knows how to utilize everything in Krishna's service. And chapter 15 about Ragatmika, spontaneous devotional service in a higher level. Yeah, without any training in the beginning in your life, you are naturally get the attraction, spontaneous attraction to serve Krishna. How can we compare with Kubja? Kubja, he has the desire to please his, she has the desire to please her senses more than to please Krishna's senses. But the gopis' so-called lusty desire is just completely selfless. They just want to please Krishna. That's it. But Kubja, she still have the feeling to gratify her own senses. Yeah, Kubja invited. So after Krishna touched Kubja's body, so she she got relief from her hunchback, and she invited Lord Krishna to her place, asking Krishna to lay down on her bed like this. So she wants to gratify her senses more than to please Krishna's senses. That's why we cannot compare. We cannot compare the gopis' loves and Kubja's. Sorry, I disagree with the question. What you mean you disagree with the question? I don't know. Who is this? Can you reveal yourself? Anyway, time is up. So any other question you can ask in the next class. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Panibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namo. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai.